Hello everyone, it's been a while since we've done a mod review, but are you still feeling festive and still want some spooky, scary skeletons? This might be the mod for you. A brand new Lizardmen faction mod, which is going to be very different to your normal stylings. You're not going to be having an empire, in fact you're mostly going to be having hidden sanctums, and not only that, well, your army is fully dead. So this is the Relics of, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, because Lizardmen names. But there is a lot to talk about, and we're going to jump right into all the details regarding this faction. So let's talk about the faction effects. Necropolis. When occupying a settlement, instead, a necropolis is built beneath it, and the settlement is gifted to one of the Lizardmen factions. If the settlement is taken or razed, the necropolis beneath it is destroyed. It does mean that you're going to have to work with other Lizardmen factions, but it's not too much of a problem, considering that the AI isn't too good right now, so nobody's really being too aggressive. Armies. So your lords, your heroes, and your units are capped. This cap is increased via rituals, horde buildings, and necropolis buildings, respectively. Allies. You don't suffer diplomatic penalties for trespassing in Lizardmen territory. When gifting a settlement, the Lizardmen faction enters into war with the previous owner. So this can allow you to make the Lizardmen incentivized to push out a little bit. Rituals. So you have access to powerful rituals, these are your rites. And finally, hordes. The armies are led by a powerful first-generation slan in their floating pyramids, allowing them to build in each army. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of armies here, and they're all going to be hordes. It's kind of interesting to play it this way, obviously similar to Nakai the Wanderer, but also a little bit different, and you'll see in just a second. And finally, we have the Lord effects. So Winds of Magic cost plus 5% for all spells. Casualty replenishment rate plus 5% for Lord's army, miscast base chance for minus 25%, and Winds of Magic power reserve capacity plus 15. Alright, so let's jump into the campaign because there is a lot to discuss here. You'll see that this is a rather unique type of campaign. So you're going to start off right off the coast of Orthwan, and you've got two enemy armies to deal with right off the bat. You can ignore them, by the way, you can just kind of move, but it's going to be a difficult campaign, and the modders themselves do state it on the mod page that this is not going to be an easy campaign. You can auto-resolve on easy mode, but even though it's not the best and you're not going to be able to take out both armies, if you're very good at battles or you're decent at battles, you should be fine when it comes to normal and hard. But keep in mind that there are some very strong enemies here. Obviously, you're dealing with, some sword masters, you're dealing with a dragon, and then with the Khorne army, you've got a slaughter brute to deal with, and also an exalted bloodthirster. Yeah, it's going to be quite difficult very early on, but you can easily just go your way into, say, near Skeggy, or dealing with that small human faction there to kind of start boosting up our good friend Mazdamundi. Your legendary lord is a hybrid spellcaster. All your lords are going to be spellcasters, by the way, but this one's quite powerful as he has a mix of spells from the Law of Life and the Law of Fire, and you will be able to get the Cataclysm spells too. In fact, you're going to be using so many Cataclysm spells that this is going to be one of those really fun campaigns once you start getting moving. He is kind of squishy, but then again, he is a Slann, even though he's undead. And this is going to be the case with all your lords, right? They're all going to be Slanns. They're all going to be kind of squishy, but they're going to be very, very strong to cast some spells out. You do have a quest item, which is just the one item. But there's a few quests tied to this campaign overall. You don't have the benefit of a mount, meaning that your lord is going to be quite fragile, but the spell casting should pay off for that. It's going to be one of those things of like, well, I don't have this, but I have this. Your legendary lord and your generic lords will also be hordes, right? So it's a bit different to the normal hordes that you've seen. Most of your units are found on the settlement building itself, and then the other buildings kind of mostly focus around increasing capacity for your heroes, with certain buildings focusing around being able to unlock them, and then other stuff like post-battle loot, getting more movement when you've raised the settlement or sacked the settlement. It's very money-focused, even though that your armies aren't going to be very based on cash, if that makes sense, because it's most cases that you're just going to be using it for buildings, and maybe every now and then for getting some mercenaries with the ogres. Early on you might get that, because it does end up being quite useful. It's a streamlined process, but it actually makes sense with this type of campaign, as a lot more work comes into it as you start progressing through it. So once you've found a way to go to, then you can start building up your hidden empire in a sense. So I'm attacking this minor faction of humans, just giving it to Hexotl so Mazdamundi can get some stuff. They'll get their building up because it will be gifted directly to them. By the way, if you can make these Lizardmen factions your vassals, well, you're going to end up getting a lot more from it. But then you can gift it to Itza, the Last Defenders, or Hexotl, and you'll end up with a basic sanctum, essentially. Well, not really too basic, because most of the sanctums can actually go up all the way up to tier 5. There is a little bit of a bug on just the normal settlement screen. I'm not sure what causes that, but if you go just with the normal build method, you're perfectly fine there. And this is where you're going to be able to build up your units to. Right? Your units on the capacity, you need to actually build up these buildings to be able to get more capacity so you can field more armies. It's something that I had to take a while to kind of realize. That's what happens when you're playing around with a faction whilst you're still with the flu. Because it's not just your hordes, you're going to have to build up these sanctums just in case you lose your hordes, because that can happen. Enemies can go for you and just kill you out. So what I've been doing in my own personal playthrough is just focusing on one faction, building them up, hoping that they can actually, keep alive. And that way I can have a steady stream of not only income, but also have a lot of buildings up there to increase my capacity. Unit capacity can be a bit of a problem if you're not really preparing for it. And early on, I have no problem admitting that I did not prepare for it. Enemy armies will try to hunt you down, keep that in mind, because this faction declared war on me out of the blue. It's because I don't have normal settlements, and from what I've been able to see is the AI will just see you weaker for that, so yeah, keep in mind that you have to be prepared. Sometimes you'll get lucky and that faction will be killed off. Yuan Bo kind of does that a few times, but yeah. Either way, you're going to have to start looking at new armies eventually, and that is done via your rite system. So the Rite of Awakening is going to give you a Slann Mage Priest, and that Slann Mage Priest is going to be your new Lord. This is how you get your army capacity up. So it's going to take a while. There is a cooldown. Keep that in mind. There is a cooldown. You can't just consistently spam this. Also, don't bother recruiting these Shattered Slann Mage Priests. They're not actually your Lord option. These are just existing for the sake of existing. They have spells and stuff like that, but they're not hordes. Just warning in advance, right? Instead, you'll get a pop-up as usual with a Slann with your choices of Lore of Magic there. So you've got 8 choices there, and each of them are really good in all honesty, because you get the full lore as expected, but also you get access to the Cataclysm spell, which again, we don't really get enough of the Cataclysm spell. Very, very little. The 2 extra skill lines are going to be pretty much identical to the other Legendary Lord, which really does fit. These are all supposed to be first generation Slann who have been revived. Obviously, it's not really that much of a lore-friendly mod, but at this point, you have to have fun with it, right? We've covered some mods like this in the past, and generally it's just about having fun, which I think is the most important thing, especially as, we're in a bit of a drought right now, right? So if you're looking for a reason to play with Total War Warhammer, but you don't want to do the usual, then it's always good to jump into that. There are a few special missions. I'm not going to show them as, I'll let you go to them. They can be kind of interesting, that's for sure, which I think is cool. I like that we're getting loads of unique quest battles from modders and so on. It really adds to the flavor of the mods and makes them feel a lot more fleshed out. Now, the roster itself is what you expect. It's the Lizardmen roster, but undead. And yeah, it's pretty damn cool. You're going to be seeing them in just a second because they look awesome. I'm a big fan of skeletons, so the more that we see of them, the better. So the roster is going to basically be the same as the Lizardmen. The only difference, obviously, is that they're losing out on certain bonuses and also becoming undead, so they can disintegrate, but they're really, really cool. You've got the Pterodon Riders being ghosts, you've got loads and loads of skeletons. This is definitely a mod that you're going to want to try out if you want something different, if you just want a different experience, and I think that's kind of important when the title is stagnating at the moment. I think that's probably the best way of saying it. But yeah, the mod will be linked in the description below. Give it a try if you want something new. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you again very, very soon. I do apologize, this is going to be a late video. I am trying to get back into the normal rotation of things and just starting to throw more videos out. The problem is I'm near the end for the house. I'm so close. And once it's done, I can actually sort out the move properly because it's just been such a shit show. Yeah, fun times. Fun times to be had by all. See you guys. Have a good one.